7 p.m. Ms. Berner, good evening. If you would call the roll, please.
Yeah. Mayor Lowry,
Here.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Here.
Councilman Grimm,
I'm here.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Here.
Councilman Cobb,
Yep.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cook,
On board.
7 members present.
Thank you very much. And tonight's invocation will be by Mr. Ron Cobb.
Dear Heavenly Father, help us and guide us so we make the right decisions for the citizens. Watch over our men and women of the military. Watch over our first responders, our fire and EMS and law enforcement, and help us get through this pandemic and get it over with. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, sir. And the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Grimm has provided us with a flag again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
Flag.
to the republic,
United States of America.
one nation,
To the republic.
indivisible,
Which it stands.
liberty,
Nation.
And justice for
Justice.
all.
Indivisible. With liberty.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. All right, moving on. We will need action on the regular scheduled work session for 7/6/2020.
Second.
Was that Cobb and Eggleston?
I heard Vice Mayor and Cobb. Was that right?
I think I heard Cobb and Eggleston. I don't know.
Who was the
I
first?
said second.
Yeah, I heard Miss Eggleston say second.
Okay, we'll go with Mr. Cobb and then Miss Eggleston.
Okay.
Council, any discussion on the minutes? All right, when you're ready, Miss Berner.
All right. Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Eggleston.
Yes.
Those minutes are accepted 7-0.
Thank you very much. And then we will move on to accept minutes for the regular scheduled council meeting for 7/6/2020.
So moved.
Second.
Miss Eggleston and then Miss Nowakowski.
Okay.
Any discussion? All right, and when you're ready, please.
All right. Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Yes.
Minutes accepted 7-0.
All right, thank you. And let's see here. Moving down to, looks like Mr. Bridge and his amazing city manager report, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. I'd like to share with you the city manager report. Under the topic A, finance report, I had the first bullet point says we'll resume reports on 8/3/2020 or before. So I do have an update on that, and it's going to actually address the second bullet point. I am happy to report that we are 100% up to date in the finance department. All the bank recs through June 2020 have been entered, and also equally importantly, all the adjustments up until June 2020 have been entered as well. So with that being said, tomorrow by the end of the business day, I will have a full council report to council. It is actually in my inbox right now. I just need to review some numbers before I send it out to council to make sure I understand it 100%. But a hats off to Colleen Harris and also Jenny Hutchinson, who just completely knocked it out of the park with getting us back present and up to date. So again, to reiterate, I will have a council finance report by end of day tomorrow to council. Any questions on that?
Any questions, council?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And moving on with the city manager report is our service report, but our planning director, Mr. Hutchinson, is going to read Mr. Picco's report. She is out this week for a much due vacation.
Yeah. So I worked really hard on this report. And I'm gonna read it word for word how he wrote it. Public Works Department. Curb repair, Washington and Henry are complete. Church Street curb repair was delayed due to the completion.
Okay. Did everyone lose Derek?
Yep.
Yep.
And
So I'm just, hey, Derek, can you hear me?
Hillcrest right away cleaning all week in that area. I can
Hey,
hear you.
Derek, I'm going to
I
take over.
froze?
Yeah, you froze. So I'm just going to read it for the record, and I appreciate your attempt. Thank you.
Sorry.
Hey, no problem. Can everyone hear me clear?
Yes.
Okay, so under Public Works Department, curb repair, Washington and Henry are complete. Church Street curb repair delayed delayed to complete Talshore curb and gutter and Hillcrest right of way, clearing for the county wide road rate project. Major and minor streets are complete with first round of dirt patching. Larger repairs are to start soon. For the update of the water department, it says water treatment plant, old high service pump building is underway. Project includes all new pipe and pipe fitting, valves, heater, dehumidifier, general cleanup. Project materials were purchased through the Water Capital Outlay Fund. Project is 90% complete. He said, Mr. Kiko says he will share pictures at a later date. Sanitary survey. We have received some recommendations and violations. The city already corrected or will have corrective action in place to remedy a particular violation. The one violation of concern is the Adams Street water tower. Tower inspection to be the last week in June, weather pending. More discussion to come. Scarf Tower project is complete and back online. Leak detection survey completed on June 5th. 4 unsurfaced main breaks located. 3 of those required repaired to date. 7 of the 10 hydrant leaks have been repaired. Under the 2020 road surfacing project, he's going to resurface Langdale Avenue, Glen Avenue, Hamilton Avenue, Clayton Court, Corona Circle, and chip seal Fog, Hillcrest Avenue, Talshore Short Drive. Bids were opened on 7/9 and came in under bid. Start time will be updated at the next meeting. For the traffic signal upgrade project, it was reported the project was awarded to Banjo Construction and is completed by 8/31/20. Contractor is on hold due to some soil issues while drilling for the main poles, and an update will be coming soon. Any questions I can take back to Mr. Kiko or attempt to answer myself?
Any questions, council?
Mr. Mayor,
Sir?
was that a water leak across from Peggy's house on South Main this morning?
It was, and that's been repaired.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Moving on with the city manager report, planning and zoning with Director Derek Hutchinson.
All right. I tucked my phone and I threw it over in this cornfield, so hopefully I get better reception now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Planning and zoning, we got, as of today, 65 approved zoning permits that were issued so far this year. Code enforcement, we did bring on both our new guys, started Monday, or I'm sorry, last Monday. We have David Bunting. He's a 29-year code enforcement veteran from the city of Oakwood. And we also have Andrew Rice, who is a recent graduate of Miami University. Urban planning, I think, is what he graduated with. And he also did 2 intern seasons at City of Beaver Creek Code Enforcement. So both guys have experience, and so far working great together, catching on pretty quick. This was their first week starting today that they were separated. So we have a morning shift and an afternoon shift 5 days a week. So we have full day coverage every day. So you'll see that black car out pretty often. I have already received calls of residents who have called concerned they've seen in their security cameras the code car passing their house numerous times, and just wanted to know what was going on. So you'll see them out. Good guys. If you guys get a chance, stop and meet them. They will also be at the tool lending building coming up here in a couple weeks. Community development, that leads me to the tool lending center. That building is up and running. Unfortunately, I haven't received a single call yet for someone to borrow something, but it's just, we don't have the publicity out there yet. I did do an article today, or did an interview with the Springfield Sun, so something should be in the paper tomorrow, no later than Wednesday, on the tool lending center. Posting on Facebook, but it's going to be really, it's going to be dependent on word of mouth, just getting it out there, the word out there that we have this program, and that anyone within the city, residents are able to use this. We are planning right now. I have it scheduled for do a ribbon cutting, kind of a grand opening on August 4th. That's a Tuesday, 10 o'clock, 10 in the morning. So obviously I would invite everyone to be there, and invite the community, the residents, everyone to come and celebrate this program and take a look around and see what we've done to the building. It's going to be a good time. So that's August 4th, Tuesday, at 10 o'clock. Economic development, we've been pretty busy. There's a buzz on the road, out on the street, regarding vacant businesses and stuff. I'm getting a lot of calls and reaching out and talking to a lot of people that are interested in either starting or bringing their businesses to New Carlisle. We do have some vacancies and some, definitely some potential land that can be developed. So I'm excited about that because there's a lot of buzz out there. So when I get more details as far as specifics, by the next council meeting, I'll have some more updates. But the word's out that New Carlisle's wanting anybody to come. So we're excited to hear from them. So that's all I got. I'll take any questions.
Council, any questions for Mr. Hutchinson?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Eggleston?
Mr. Hutchinson, I just want to confirm, we had originally said that we would, to prove you're a resident of the city, you have to have a water bill. And I wanted to confirm with you that it could be any utility bill for those that rent and their landlord pays their water.
So yes, so I have updated our requirements, and that is in there now. So if you are a tenant that your utilities are included in your rent, paid by your landlord, all we would need is just a secondary. So it could be a gas bill or power bill, a cable bill, something that has your name with that address that matches your driver's license. So we can use that if you do not have the water service with New Carlisle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Eggleston. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cobb?
Mr. Hutchinson.
Yep.
Code enforcement officers, when they write citations, are we going to enforce the ordinance?
If there is, so right now, everyone and most communities are doing the same. I mean, we understand the state that we're in with the corona and the COVID-19. We're not going after, even though they are violations, we're not going after targeting serious structural things right now. As far as we understand it's going to be a lot out of pocket. We are going to be concentrating more right now on items that could be taken care of with less money, as far as just picking up trash, debris, mowing your grass, trying to remove junk vehicles, get them out of the way, RVs in the yard. I mean, there's a number of things that homeowners or tenants, residents can do that's not going to cost them any money to take care of, that we will enforce those. But we understand, if you got gutters falling down or something like that, even though they still are violations at this time, we're not going to be, we may let you aware, send out some type of notice that just be aware of this, you do have violations, and, just start planning for the future to get those repaired. But we're not going to be issuing any kind of notices as far as legal notices or anything on major structural things that's going to cost citizens money right now.
Well, if that's the case, we really don't need the code enforcement officers right now. If we're not going to cite them.
He's not
Well, we're
saying he's not saying he's not citing people. Right now, what we're doing is saying this is a very trainable option for these two guys. We're building them up to get to the bigger type of violations. So there's not that many places in town that are having severe structural issues. The places that are, the county usually already has that under control. So he's not saying that we're not violating people. We are. But when it comes to the big structural stuff, that has an impact to cost the homeowner a lot of money or the city a lot of money. And we are going to be focusing on that. But right now we have to get them comfortable enough to get the small stuff, the low hanging fruit out of the way before we go and get some big structural stuff that the county more than likely already has on the radar in the process of working.
Anything else, Mr. Cobb?
Yeah.
All right. I just had one question, Mr. Hutchinson.
Yep.
On the tool rental program, when we roll in towards the winter months, will we have things like snow blowers?
As of right now, I did not prep anything for winter months.
Okay.
We still will have, obviously, we'll still have hand tools, that stuff that, if you're doing inside repairs, indoor repairs, that will be available all year round. Now, if the demand gets to it, we may look into that. I'd like to steer clear from as many gas powered items as we can, just due to the maintenance and upkeep of those. Right now, our lawnmowers are only gas products that we have. Everything else is either electric power or manual. So as far as like a snow blower, the only problem I have seen and could foresee in something like that is, as costly as those are, we're looking at maybe only be able to get one or two, and the need's going to be on a day of a snowstorm.
Right.
So by the time someone came and got that brought back, someone rated out, the snow would be melted by most time the citizens would even be able to get to it. So that would be a tough one to do. Now we could do snow shovels in preparation for a upcoming storm. So those are things that we could definitely look for this winter.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions? All right. Back to you, Mr. Bridge. Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. And moving on with the city manager report, our fire report with Fire Chief Trusty.
Good evening, council, mayor, vice mayor, and citizens. For the month of June, New Carlisle Fire Division responded to 83 EMS calls in the city, 18 in Elizabeth Township. The division responded to 8 fire-related calls in the city, 1 in Elizabeth Township. We had 3 EMS calls answered mutual aid by Pike Township or Bethel Clark due to Medic 52 being on response. We answered 2 mutual aid runs for Pike Township, and we answered 2 for Bethel Clark. Other than that, right now, the other big thing is Medic 52. New Medic 52 is in full service and responding. Station renovations that we're doing are probably about 85% done. To be probably finished by the end of this month. Other than that, that's about it.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions for the chief? Chief, just one. I mean, is the medic working up to your expectations?
Very much so. Everything, haven't had any major problems, issues with the medic. All the crews are tremendously happy. The citizens that have seen it and rode in it, unfortunately, have enjoyed it, have complimented, enjoyed it. This is a lot smoother ride than the old medic.
Good to hear. Thank you very much.
I,
All
for
right.
one, am excited to use it.
You're excited to use it?
He likes the blue lights on the inside.
The lights are pretty cool.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Bridge, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to the city manager report. The police report is actually embedded into the sheet, so I'll just go ahead and read it. So under activity, they have 4,096 miles patrolled, 222 calls for service, 31 report, 27 criminal arrests, 4 traffic citations, 26 traffic warnings, 725 business checks, and 225 citizen contacts. Under Section 2, Police Administrator, they are currently having a sergeant's test to determine the candidates. And that, once they have the sergeants determined, it'll be a mutual decision between the city and the sheriff per the union contract, who the next administrator would be. Any questions on the police report?
Council. Mr. Cobb.
Have we looked at if this economy starts going downhill of trying to remove temporarily the 5th deputy so we can save money when the budget starts hurting?
That will have to be discussed when we talk about the budget, mid-year budget.
Anything else, Mr. Cobb?
Uh-uh.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Bridge, I just had one, and you probably really couldn't even answer it. But when on the report it says business checks, does that mean? I'm assuming that means that they're doing driving by and just checking on businesses late at night, or do you know if they're getting out and doing walkthroughs through business? Is that included in that?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah, to sit there and say 100 of them are just driving by versus, but it's an all encompassing.
Okay. Thank you.
I
Sure.
believe like if they have an alarm that goes off, them responding to that alarm, even if it was just accidental set off, that was probably included in that, I'd imagine.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no
Mr.
problem.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. We have 2 bicycles for deputies, is that right?
Yes.
Are they being used?
I'm sure they do use them. As to what extent, I don't know.
Okay.
They were bought a couple years ago for our 2 particular deputies to do community policing, so they have used them. I know they use them for the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff like that. As far as the amount of them being on it as much as the previous 2 deputies were, I can't attest. I don't know, but they are being used. Yes.
Anything
That's all.
else, Mr. Grimm?
That's it.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. And back to you, Mr. Bridge.
Sure. Under other items, city building downtown, we are going to put that out to bid on September 8th, 2020 with a 3 to 4 week run time. There'll be alternative bids for the 3rd floor completion, alternative bid for the bathroom on the 2nd floor, and then also an alternative bid for the upgraded lights and fixtures. So, but what's not included in the bid specs will be the upgrade of the electrical panel, the IT wiring, certain furniture, workstations, and other related items. So I just want to stress to council that we're just putting out the bid so we can see where the pricing is going to come in. So I had a meeting with the architect, I think last week. If we put it out September 8th, that puts us around, if we do 3 weeks, around the 2nd week in August, 4 weeks would be about the 3rd week in August. Again, to align council with see how much this is going to cost so we can better do the mid-year budget and see if council wants to move forward for this year or hold off until next year. But we need to have a number to even start to begin with. So again, just because the bids are out doesn't mean we have to accept any of them, but it is going to give us a good idea of where that's going to come in price-wise.
Right.
Yep. Moving on with the city manager report under
Got a
income.
question on the building there.
What's that, sir?
We sit back when we was going to put the chambers in there, the council chambers. You was going to put storage upstairs and you could not due to the weight on the 2nd floor. Now you're going to go to a 3rd floor?
No, I did not say that. 3rd floor
Yes,
was
sir,
always,
you did.
I didn't
No,
say
what he's
anything.
Now, what he was saying is as far as and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bridge, the 3rd floor we were considering possibly doing just a basic update for extra office space if someone needed to go up there. So if I'm understanding correctly, we're just going to nix that idea and just pretty much leave it the way it is, correct?
Basically what it says is we were see how much it costs to get done versus not cost to get done. So an alternative bid means, say we have this bid to do the 1st and 2nd floor. If you want the 3rd one down, it's going to cost you another $20,000. So, but we didn't say anything about using it as storage or not about it for not being done. If it is done and we don't have office space up there, we can use it for dry storage, like old Christmas decorations, things that don't have a lot of weight to them. We can't put multiple filing cabinets up there. But we can definitely use it for dry storage if it's not used for office space. But again, the alternative bid means you're getting the first and second floor done at the minimum. This is how much it's going to cost extra to get that third floor, should council want to go proceed with it.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Cobb?
He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'll leave it alone.
All right. Anybody else, any more questions on that for Mr. Bridge?
Can you go ahead and clarify for me that, Mr. Cobwet? I just want to make sure that you and I are on the same page with how this is moving forward, since all the other council members seem to understand. But I
Well,
don't,
when you put this thing out for bid, you already have a figure that you're going to spend. You don't sit there and open wide open to the contractors and make the bid for you. Now you're
Well,
in
that's
my
not gonna be-
backyard when it comes to that.
well, I don't know what backyard you're in, but usually how the bidding works is you put it out to bid because they come back with a price to complete it. Like
You
we're doing
have-
for
you
trash.
have a
We
price
don't
that
know how much
you're
a
gonna
trash rate's
spend.
going to cost until it comes back out and they say this is how much it's going to cost. So we can have 4 builders bid on this project and they all have 4 completely different prices on it.
But you should know what you're going to spend before you send it out.
Mr. Cobb, that's already been discussed with council. That's why we have money put away in the CIP. That's why we've had multiple discussions with how we're going to finance this stuff. I mean, I don't understand why.
No, we don't have it in the budget. You keep jumping on your figures on this building.
What do you mean we don't have it in the budget? It's in the CIP. I'll let council members handle it from here on out.
Yeah, I don't have the budget in front of me. I know we put an amount in the CIP budget. I don't remember the exact amount, but it is in there to do and renovate the building. So.
I'm just gonna move on with the city manager report. Shelter house renovations. Right now, it's still dependent on the state orders pertaining to the gathering limits. Unless it's been changed, I have not heard any other direction, but I still think that limit of 10 or less is still in place. So as long as that limit is in place, we will not be able to honor the reservations for the shelter house. So we will be more than likely canceling for them for August as well.
Okay,
Council, any discussion on that?
council. Nope.
No? Okay. Waste removal bid specs, updated due to the work session dated July 6th. So I'm going to email these out to you guys. We had discussed last time about definition of a bag, and it's going to be hard for me to call each one because I don't know who's going to respond to the bid. So I was talking to Vice Mayor about this during the break. And I'm just going to write something into the bid specs for them to define their bag limit with the extra Christmas collections. That way, anyone who responds to it, they can give their own unique individual response. So Rumpke can have their response, Waste Management, Republic, and who else decides to go into that. Is council okay with that strategy?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So I got to make sure the table of contents are correct. I have them done completely right here. So tomorrow I'll go through and update the table of contents and then add that language in there about the bags. And then I want to give them out to council so you guys can review them, read it word for word. It's about a 32-page document. Make sure you're good with the secondary language that's in there. And then we can go ahead and put it out to bid too. I do want to get that out sooner rather than later, given the time frame that we do have. Street light LED. Some of the residents may have seen some action going on with their street lighting. We are getting those replaced with LED lights. So that's something council voted on last year with the CIP. It's an extra $10,000. What that's going to do is greatly improve the visibility at night with clear light and also going to improve overall safety. So we're very excited to have that option there for our residents. And I'm excited to see the end result. Speed limit reduction on 571. Mr. Mayor, we do have a council question, so if you don't mind, can I go ahead and read that email now before we get to the discussion? Because I think our discussion is going to answer everything on the question submitted to council.
Yes, most definitely.
Sure. So it's from Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall's a great guy. I've talked to him on numerous occasions on numerous different things. So he had requested that we reduce the speed limit, and of course, we've been doing research on it and talking with our attorney. But let me go ahead and read his email. It says, "Good evening, Mayor Lowry, Council, Mr. Bridge, and administration. My name is Don Hall, and I live at 609 West Jefferson Street. Back in May 2020, I requested the city consider reducing the speed on West Jefferson State Route 571 from the posted speed of 35 miles per hour. This request was based off excess traffic speeds through the residential portion of West Jefferson Street with many family elderly homes no more than 10 to 15 feet from the sidewalks. Additionally, the request for a speed reduction was for safe access to the city's South Bike and prevention of recurring future traffic accidents. It is my understanding the administration is working with ODOT on the traffic study. By the request of council, it is my understanding the administration is working with ODOT on a traffic study. By the request of council prior to making the decision on the request, would you please provide a status update of the speed reduction request? I thank all of you for your continued diligence in this matter and devotion to our community. So in with this packet is there's a legal memo in here from our attorney. So he's been looking into the legality of things because we need to know anytime that we do this thing, we attack it from a multiple angle perspective. And the first angle we looked at is it legal? So of course our guidebook by that is Ohio Revised Code. So Jake did find some things on there at section 4511.19. And basically what it states is B2, it says 25 miles per hour in all other portions of the municipal corporation, except on state routes, outside business districts, through highways, outside businesses and districts and alleys. And then B3 states that it does need to be 35 miles per hour on all state routes on or through highways within municipal corporations outside of business districts. So what this is basically saying is we are able to change the speed limit on our own accord from 35 to 25 in areas along 571 that has businesses on the side of it. So basically when you come in town from Tip City, you enter there by the bar and grill. That is businesses on both sides. We can go in, reduce that to 25 up until where it gets around where Goodall Lumber is. But unfortunately, as soon as it hits the residential districts, it does have to be 35. And if the last paragraph of that is that for us to move forward, it has to be a conjunction agreement after a speed study is performed. So I will be contacting Clark TCC to see if they are able to do a speed study free of charge. So we wanted to find out the legality behind it first. Now that we have that answer, we need to move to the next step. If the TCC is not able to perform the speed study, is council willing to expend money to have the speed study done? And if so, how much?
Do you know what kind of money's entailed in that?
It can be thousands of dollars, depending on how much ODOT requires them to go into detail.
Why don't we table the end of it until we get something back from them on an estimate of what we could spend on it?
TCC, when I was a planning director, and I think a year after I became city manager, they always did a random test for us for free. We always had to write in the need for it. But they haven't done that in the past few years, at least maybe Howie's done it. I just didn't know. So I do want to have a conversation with Scott Smith about how the best way to move forward with the city to honor Mr. Hall's request and see it full till the end. But I just don't know how much money council would willing to expend for that to do that. And then two, the other part of this is, do you guys want to go ahead and change the speed limit coming into town from 35 to 25? Hopefully what that does is stick and people go 25 through the rest of town.
You're saying, do we want to change it when you're coming in from like the direction of Tip City?
Yes, we were able to change it on our own as long as there's businesses on both sides of the streets.
So once we get past the businesses is where our authority, if you will, stops.
Basically, yeah, it has to go back up to 35 once you basically get past Smith Park, because that's where all the residents start.
And that alone may do the trick, just slowing it down a little bit further. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so in my notes, I tackle most things. We have immediate and we have something that's going to its future. So I have two things. Immediate is change speed coming into town from 35 to 25. That's something we can do now, and to show the residents, say, yeah, we are looking at this. And government work, it always takes longer than what it should. We all know that, so with COVID going on, I think that's delayed some of it too. So I think that we should probably do the immediate need and then look at that second half for the study to kind of finish it up. And the study may warrant it, the study may not. depending on what the study is going to look at and if ODOT accepts that. Because even if we have the study, it still needs to be mutually confirmed between ODOT. According
Is
to
this something?
legal,
I'm sorry.
according to the legal memo from our attorney.
Is that you, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Me.
Oh, okay, Mr. Grimm. I wasn't sure who it was. Go ahead, sir.
So you're coming in from Tip City. You cross the bridge. You're in the city limits. Right away, it's 25 because of those plants on the left, and
Yeah, it's a lot of
Right.
business. Yep.
then once you pass those, it's up to 35, up until what, Church Street?
Yeah. Businesses. Then it would go back down to 25.
25 to Pike
then,
Street.
Then it may go back out to 35 for a small section, depending on, because once you get past 571, we got the CVS, and then we have the old bank, the Dillinger Bank, and then it goes to residential.
Well, you still have Rite Aid there,
Well, yeah, but past that, past Rite Aid, essentially, it's all residential.
past Pike Street.
Yeah, you're right.
You're out of the city.
Yeah. So I would just maybe recommend doing that one on coming in from Tip, see if that rides it through, because there's only going to be such a small section. I think once it's going to go from 25 to 35, and well, it's 35 on the way rest out because it leaves city limits at that point in time.
I don't think that that's going to answer Mr. Hall's question. I think Mr. Hall wants the speed limit right there adjacent to his property in that curve area reduced to 25.
Yeah, and basically the answer to that is what kind of money is council willing to spend for the speed study?
Can we get, I mean, is that something that they can give you a ballpark idea on what it's going to take money wise?
It would definitely be my first point of contact for sure.
Okay.
Who would be doing it?
TCC, it's Clark Springfield Transportation Coordinating Committee. Clark TCC is what it's called.
I think it's kind of silly jumping up and down 3 or 4 times on the same street.
Yeah, and that's something you guys want to consider too. You know, I said at the very least, we start with the reduction where we can we'll inquire about the study. Depending on what that study says and the study costs, council's got to make that determination.
Now, no offense to Mr. Hall. Yes, he's a nice guy, but it's going to lead to a lot of confusion.
You know, I mean, I think people coming in from Tip, was it 50 what people fly coming down that country road before you get into the city limits. Like you're coming from Tip, it's country, you know, so it's going to go from what, 50, 55 down to 25. And it'll set the pace, you know, or people we'll have to have a 35 mile, we'll have to have a notice of speed limit change. I mean, we can't just not put a 35 up top.
Yeah.
You know, it could account for it because, you know, if we have enforced the traffic enforcement. And I'm not saying I don't want to go through with the study and try to honor Mr. Hall's request because he's diligent, he worked on this. But we just have to phase it out, you know, and see what we get. But, you know, the way I look at it, 25 for that little section coming into town, it may set the pace for people coming up. If they jump up to 35, hopefully they're not going as fast as they usually did. But yeah, the council's and say with how you guys want to move forward with that actually changing that.
Speaking of speed limits, coming north on 235, city limits start at the fitness center on that side of the street, correct?
Yes.
Should we be making it 35 there?
We know it's 35 up to there. You hit 25 once you come in. I think it goes down to 25 once you get into town. So we don't own both sides of the street when it comes down.
We don't need to, do we?
Yes, that was a topic of conversation. I would say back in 2016, we had got with Bethel Township and had a meeting there at Meadowview Growers with Earl and all. He was concerned about his employees pulling out, and then R.D. Holder was concerned about his truck drivers pulling out with the speed being at what it is. But since we didn't own both sides, nothing came of it.
In Enon, there are locations where half the streets in the village, half the streets in the township on this. And this was when I would go to Enon Village Council meetings. this was a topic of discussion, especially on Broadway. The north side of the street is in the village, south side's in the township. And the people were complaining that people were flying down the township side. And the village said they couldn't do anything about the township side, but on the village side, it is 35, it is 25.
Yeah, that's odd. It would have to be, because there's a formula they use. So I'm curious to know how they did that, because it's a formula they use for actual how many feet you have. Like it could be 300 feet of business and 200 feet of residential, and they take this formula. So I don't know what's on either side of that there, but I do know that there is some specifics taken into account when they come up to that formula as what's considered business frontage and versus residential frontage.
You might want to look into it again.
Just my 2 cents on the original topic. I'm not against changing the section. We can, but I think before we even do it, I would like to see what kind of a ballpark price we would have. And then if it's something that's not extremely high, do the study before we make any changes. But me personally, I would like to hear some sort of ballpark figure on what the study would cost.
I guess I'm in favor of putting the signs up tomorrow down on the west side of town and see what the impact is, see if it slows things down. And the other question I have in terms of the businesses, why is it 35 from the city limits, from the bridge up to Church Street?
Because there's not businesses on both sides.
Right.
People don't pay attention to it anyway. I'm
No.
always hearing people squealing tires on Main Street.
I think the consensus is go ahead and get the quoting for the speed study and then come back to council.
Okay. Anybody else have any
That
concerns?
sounds good.
Okay. I think that's what you need to do there then, Mr. Bridge.
So we have no interest in changing the speed limit short time, the one small section.
I don't. Oh,
I'm not against it. I would rather wait to see what the price is.
Be
and
packaged.
then- right. Just get all the bits and pieces of information and then go from there.
that's how I feel. I agree with that.
Wait and do it all at once.
Yeah.
I'm just taking some notes, guys. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
And Scott's usually pretty quick to get back with me, so I will shoot him an email tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
All right, where are we at here? COVID-19 updates from the Clark County Health District. So they emailed me this nice PowerPoint presentation that I just kind of saved as a PDF because I think it gives a lot of information. I want the council to see that. So 753 confirmed, 88 probable cases. They have a little chart in here. We can see the cases going up. And then they have some more, looks like metadata regarding the test results. So council can take a look at that, share it with your constituents if you should choose with. But I do think it's a good piece of information to have, so hopefully council enjoys that. Let's see. Upcoming, we have the street lighting assessments and abatement utility assessments. Those will actually start next week on August 3rd meeting. And then as we talked about earlier, the 2020 budget adjustments due to COVID-19 to include revenue expenses and CIP expenses. We'll be coming back to council within 30 days on that once we set a finance director, which we'll be discussing, I think, later on today. That is all I have for the city manager report. Thank you for getting through it with me.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Bridge before we move on, council?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bridge.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Ms. Hopkins.
I wanted to say one thing. It's
Yes.
back on the LED lights. I've heard from several citizens that are very pleased with the new lights.
Oh, that's great. Yay.
Yeah.
They're going to make a world of difference.
I just wanted to give you some feedback.
That's fantastic. And thank you, council, for allowing that expense because I think it's going to do a lot of good.
Yeah, the feedback I've got was from some local criminals. They're saying it's making it harder to break into cars.
You hang around with the criminal element, Mike?
Right? Do what?
You hang around with the criminal element?
They were random. They were just random messages. I'm just joking.
Okay.
No, they are so bright. It's amazing. I love it. It's like our whole front yard is lit up. It's great. So they do look great. So
Good.
all right. And moving on to, let's see here, where we at here. So for comments from members of the public. Any emails there, Mr. Bridge?
None additional to Mr. Halls.
All right, thank you very much. Committee reports, none tonight. Resolutions, Ms. Berner.
Right, we have resolution 2020-10R. Introduction, public hearing and action tonight. A resolution appointing the city manager as the designee for the city of New Carlisle's mandatory public records training required by the Ohio Public Records Act.
Thank you,
Move it.
council. Was that
Move
Mr.
it.
Grimm?
Yeah.
Okay. And the second by Vice Mayor.
Okay,
Sorry, taking notes. An explanation of this resolution. Every year, the state of Ohio requires that the city manager and/or council members complete sunshine law training. This resolution will allow me to go on behalf of council, even though council may do it their own, just a catch-all, just in case something should happen with your appointment.
Thank you, sir. Council, any questions before we call for a vote? All right, when you're ready, Ms. Berner, please.
all right, Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Motion accepted 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to ordinances. We have ordinance 2020-22E, introduction, public hearing and action tonight. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Board of Clark County Commissioners for the 2020 roadway resurfacing contract and declaring an emergency.
So moved.
I think I heard Ms. Nowakowski first.
Second.
And a second from Ms. Eggleston.
Okay,
Okay, and an explanation of this ordinances, this is to go ahead and expend the funds for the roadway repair project, and this is a yearly agreement that we do with the county for resurfacing projects.
Council, any questions? All right, and when you're ready, Ms. Berner, please.
all right. Councilman Cobb. No, wait, hold on. I'm good, sorry. I want to stay in order. Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Sustain.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes 6-0-1.
All right, and the next one when you're ready, please.
Okay. We have ordinance 2020-23E, introduction, public hearing and action tonight. An ordinance authorizing the city of New Carlisle, Ohio to enter into a first amendment to option and land lease agreement for the purpose of continuing to lease a portion of the city's waterworks property to Springfield CTC DBA Verizon Wireless and declaring an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
First by Ms. Eggleston, second by Ms. Nowakowski.
And an explanation of this ordinance is, this is a result of council choosing to extend the lease with the current provider and go ahead, and because we are extending that lease, we're getting a $20,000 bonus extension on that. So that's what's in front of council tonight.
Council, any questions? And when you're ready, Ms. Berner, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms.
I have
Hopkins.
a question. Why is this an emergency?
Because it has to be back to the people who are expediting the lease in a timely manner. They need it back by July 30th.
Okay.
All right. And when you're ready, Ms. Berner.
All right. Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
No.
Was that a no vote?
That was a no vote.
Okay, just want to make sure I heard you clearly.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman now.
Yes.
All right, that motion's accepted 6-1.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Berner. Moving on to other business, there's none. We will have an executive session tonight to discuss the employment of a public employee. And then after that, we will return to regular council session to what I would assume adjourn. We do not plan on any other business this evening after we return from that.
We
Yes,
don't, there actually may be business after the facts.
Oh, okay. Well, then, there you go. We may have some business afterwards, but we will return from the executive session to regular session. And again, the public's welcome to tune into that as well.
Mr.
So
Mayor?
with that, Mr. Grimm.
I would like to bring up something before executive session.
Yes,
That's
sir.
okay.
Yes, sir.
We have a crosswalk at Main and Jefferson. People don't like using that crosswalk because people are constantly turning, drivers are constantly turning without walking. I've almost been hit a number of times. I was talking to one of the businesses, and I was at one of the businesses up the street. He said he's almost been hit a number of times. And I'm constantly seeing people turning without looking. We need to have one at Washington and Main, and possibly one in the middle of the block. What would it take to get that done?
So
2 years
three-
ago, we had a meeting, we had a study done on that probably 2-3 years ago through TCC. Nothing was warranted to have a crosswalk there. There's not enough pedestrian traffic.
Well, people are almost getting hit, Randy.
I will email you out the crosswalk study we had.
Do we need to wait until someone gets injured or even killed?
You're asking me questions that I don't have the authority to answer. If the study does not warrant it, we actually will be at liability if we put one in despite what the study says. It's a state route. So we have to do anything in conjunction with ODOT. So we had a study done, I would say 3 years ago through TCC. They literally had people stationed out there counting the traffic with a hand counter, how many people cross the street. And it just wasn't warranted at that time. So I had planned on looking that back up when we debut the city building downtown, because we'll have more foot traffic coming across to get to that city building. So
What time of year did they do this study?
I don't recall. It was spring, summer. They don't really do them in the winter.
Well, that was going to be my question.
Farmers market wanting the crosswalk there mid-block. They had wanted it up by Main and Washington. So there's a few different scenarios to the council what that type of crosswalk it would be. But my recollection of it is it just wasn't warranted due to a lack of pedestrian.
So can I jump in, Mr. Grimm?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Bridge, you said that we could technically put one in, but we could be held liable if there was an issue there.
Anytime that you do something that's not recommended, you're going to be held liable. You have a
Okay.
chance of being held liable, yeah.
My instant thoughts are, and I remember the study you're referring to. I don't remember if they did it when the farmers market was in play or not. I mean, there's a lot of traffic down there during the farmers market. It would definitely ease up some congestion on the one crosswalk that we already have. And then like you'd mentioned, if the city building is going to end up being there, which it is, I think it would be almost, kind of a no-brainer that it should probably be in there anyway. I mean, I don't know if there needs to be one in the middle, but at least one on the opposite end of the block, like Mr. Grimm was saying. That's just my 2 cents, though.
I'm just curious how we could suffer any liability.
It's not warranted. Someone's in there, they get hit, they sue the city, they sue the driver, they sue everything else involved with the thing. Then it's find out that we did something without it being warranted. You can sue anyone for just about anyone nowadays. And now that I'm thinking about it, the one in the middle actually required us to lose, I want to say 2 or 3 parking spots on either side of the street because it was a bump out. So they could come and it kind of curved out from the street so people could walk and kind of see, but it did require vacating multiple parking spots on either side. Because a lot of debate centered around like Yellow Springs, and now I'm on jury duty in Xenia, they have one in their downtown. It's a 4-lane highway, but pedestrians actually have the right of way. So if you're in there, there's no crosswalk signal. Pedestrians just walk into it and the traffic stops. I think it's similar out there in Yellow Springs, one of their narrow streets. So definitely something that I wanted to bring back to council once the new city building was put in, because I think that's going to increase the foot traffic. And then talk to council about putting that one up by Main and Washington in. We don't think it's very feasible for us to do the middle one just because of losing the parking spots we can't afford.
No.
No, but that one on Main and Washington, I would love to have one in there where pedestrians have the right of way. They don't push a button, something in the middle of the road, it's flashes, says pedestrians have the right of way, and it's just there. But I need to make sure that we can do that without, being liable for anything.
Is that something that would be on your plate, Mr. Bridge, or would that go to Mr. Hutchinson?
It would go to actually Mr. Kiko.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we'd have to work with ODOT in it because it's state route, because of the state route status.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something worth looking into. Maybe when Mr. Kitco gets back from vacation, maybe we can bend his ear some more on it, Mr. Grimm.
It's going to take another speed. It's going to take another study. Not a lot has changed since the last study we haven't done. It's not like we've had, a business office with 30 people be employed there. So I think they'll have probably the same amount of results that they did last year. That's why I wanted to see if once we get that extra foot traffic in there with the city building. But it's definitely something I can reach out to Scott when I talk to him about the speed study being done on Jefferson.
I'll call my contact at ODOT too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll put our forces together and see what we get.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we wrap up this and move into exec? Mrs. Nowakowski.
I went down to the farmer's market on Saturday with my sister in a wheelchair. And there is no passage on Main Street with the farmer's market set up the way it is to be able to access the crosswalk on Main Street in Jefferson.
Okay, I will have to talk with them. They are supposed to leave that clarified for ADA compliant. So it's something I have to get with Mr. Maxwell and ensure that there's a distance in there for people to actually be able to get a wheelchair in. But that has been heavily communicated to them for multiple years in a row that ADA compliant is a paramount.
When it was on the other block, it wasn't a problem because those sidewalks are wider there, and you could get a wheelchair past the table. Was impossible on Saturday.
Okay, that's something. I want to circle back to what me and Mr. Grimm were talking about and the rest of the council with the thing. Mr. Grimm, would you willing to put our forces together and go on this? I find sometimes that I get a lot more teeth when I have an elected official with me opposed to just an administrator. So if you don't have a problem working with me on that project, I'd like for council to make a motion to say that's okay.
I don't have a problem at all.
So
It needs
moved.
to be.
Second.
So we got Mr. Cook and I got Mr. Cook on the trash with me, and I'd love to have Mr. Grimm with me on the crosswalk stuff.
So we had a first by Miss Hopkins and a second by Miss Nowakowski is what I heard.
Yep, that's what I got.
Okay. Any discussion on that before we vote? All right, when you're ready, Miss Burner.
Okay. Councilman Cobb,
No.
Councilwoman Eggleston. You're muted.
Sorry, yes. The dog was barking.
Vice Mayor Cook,
yes,
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
yes,
Councilman Grimm,
Yes, definitely.
and Councilwoman Nowakowski.
yes.
Motion's accepted 6-1.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Burner. And any other discussion before we move into executive session? Okay. I know we need a motion to do so. Also, just correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bridge, we will, once we leave this, we're gonna get another link to go into executive session?
Yep.
In our
So
email?
what we'll have to do is this link is going to be killed completely. And I'm going to ask for about 5-minute recess. And then I'll send a whole new calendar invite out. That way you guys can click onto that when we go into, right, is that how it works? Jason? No, Emily, fill up here. I gotta take a break.
He will cut us. We will no longer be live on YouTube. We'll
Right.
do our executive session.
Right.
Then when the executive session is over, that's when this specific
That's
stream
right.
to end. He'll send a new one and we'll all click back on that to finish out the regular session.
Gotcha. Okay. So we'll need a motion to move into executive session.
Move.
Second.
So Ms. Nowakowski, and I think Mr. Grimm was our second.
Okay. All right. Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
You're muted.
Yes,
There we go.
Vice Mayor Cook,
yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
That's accepted 7-0.
All right.